The grand chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive structure that housed the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Inside, hundreds of alien species gathered under the dome of stars. Some glowed with soft light, others stood tall like living crystals, and a few existed as pure energy contained in shimmering fields. This was the Galactic Council, and today they would pass judgment on humanity. Director Sarah Chen stood alone in the center of the chamber. She wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, her black hair tied back, her face calm despite the situation. Around her, the council members watched from their elevated platforms. She could feel their eyes on her, some curious, most hostile. The Architect Prime rose from its seat. The being stood 12 feet tall, its body made entirely of translucent crystal that caught and reflected the light in rainbow patterns. When it spoke, its voice echoed through the chamber like wind chimes in a storm. "Humanity of Earth, you stand accused before this council," the Architect Prime said. "You have expanded your colonies without permission. You have taken resources that were not yours to claim. You have refused the genetic modifications that would make your species less aggressive, less dangerous, and most serious of all, you have developed weapons that are forbidden by council law." Chen stepped forward. "We have done only what was necessary to survive and grow. Every species here did the same before joining the council. Why are we held to a different standard?" A creature that looked like flowing water in a transparent suit laughed, the sound like bubbling streams. "Because you are different, human. You are violent. You fight among yourselves even now. You cannot be trusted with power." "We fight because we are passionate," Chen replied. "We argue because we care. Yes, we have conflicts, but we also have the capacity for great cooperation. Look at what we have built in just 200 years since we reached the stars." "That is precisely the problem," another council member said. This one resembled a massive insect with wings of silver metal. "You move too fast. You want too much. You do not understand the order we have maintained for 10,000 years. The Architect Prime raised one crystalline hand for silence. "The Council has debated this matter for 3 cycles. We have reviewed all evidence. Humanity has been given chances to change, to accept our guidance, to become part of the galactic community properly. You have refused each time. Therefore we must act." Chen felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her face neutral. "What is your decision?" "The vote has been taken," the Architect Prime announced. "Of the 473 member species, 468 have voted to quarantine Earth. Humanity will be isolated from the galaxy for a period of 50 standard years. During this time, you will have no access to the Jumpgate network. No trade, no communication, no contact with any council species." The words hit Chen like physical blows. "You are imprisoning 4 billion people for the actions of their government?" "We are giving you time to grow, to mature, to become less dangerous," the Architect Prime said. "Your scattered colonies will be allowed to remain if they accept council oversight. But Earth itself and anyone who chooses to return there will be sealed away. Perhaps in 50 years you will have learned wisdom." Chen looked around at the assembled species. Most would not meet her eyes. A few looked satisfied. Only a handful seemed uncomfortable with the decision. "This is wrong," Chen said quietly. "You fear us because we remind you of what you used to be, before you became comfortable and soft. You have forgotten what it means to struggle, to fight for survival, to refuse to give up. We have not forgotten. And you will regret this decision. Is that a threat?" the insect-like being asked. "No," Chen said. "It is a promise. You are making a terrible mistake. You think you are punishing us, containing us, keeping the galaxy safe from dangerous humans. But what you are really doing is giving us time. Time to think, time to plan, time to build without your interference. And you are giving us motivation. We will remember this day. We will remember how you cast us out, how you judged us unworthy. And when we return, it will not be as beggars asking for acceptance." The Architect Prime's crystal body seemed to dim slightly. "You speak boldly for someone in your position." "I speak honestly," Chen replied. "That is something humans do, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it costs us." "The decision is final," the Architect Prime declared. "The quantum barrier will be erected around your solar system within 1 planetary rotation. All Earth vessels have that time to choose. Stay within the barrier and be isolated with Earth, or remain outside and accept council authority. Choose wisely." Chen straightened her shoulders. She touched the communication device on her collar. Earth Command, this is Director Chen. The Council has voted to quarantine us. Begin Protocol Defiance. Around the chamber, Council members stirred nervously. The Architect Prime leaned forward. What is Protocol Defiance? Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You will find out in 50 years. Or perhaps sooner. Thank you for your time, Council members. This meeting is concluded. She turned and walked toward the exit. No one stopped her. As she left the grand chamber, she heard the murmur of confused voices behind her. Let them wonder. Let them worry. Outside, her ship waited. As it accelerated away from the Council station, Chen looked back at the massive structure. In hours, the quantum barrier would rise around Earth like a cage of light. But cages only held those who accepted being held. Humanity had never been good at accepting limitations. The ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, racing toward home. Chen opened a secure channel to Earth Command. This is Chen. The Council has cast us out. Begin the preparations. We have work to do. The response came immediately. Understood, Director. Welcome home. Let us show them what humans can do when pushed into a corner. Chen closed her eyes and allowed herself one moment of fear, of doubt, of anger. Then she opened them again and began reviewing the plans that had been prepared for this exact situation. Humanity had hoped for peace, but they had planned for rejection. Now the real work would begin. 5 years had passed since the barrier rose around Earth's solar system. The wall of twisted space and light still shimmered at the edge of the system, beautiful and terrible. Ships that tried to pass through it simply disappeared, torn apart by forces that bent reality itself. The galaxy beyond continued without humanity, barely remembering the species they had locked away. But inside the barrier, everything had changed. Admiral Marcus Reeves stood in the observation deck of the construction station that orbited Mars. Before him, stretching into the darkness, were hundreds of ships in various stages of completion. The shipyards had been built in secret, hidden in the asteroid belt and carved into the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. What the Council saw as a prison, humanity had turned into a forge. Admiral, the latest batch is ready for engine testing, a young officer said, saluting smartly. Reeves nodded. He was a tall man with gray hair and the kind of face that had seen too much combat. Before the quarantine, he had commanded Earth's small defense fleet. Now he commanded something far more impressive. Begin the test sequence, he ordered. Through the observation window, he watched as 10 warships activated their engines. Unlike the elegant vessels of the Council races, these ships were brutal and efficient. They had angular armor plating designed to deflect energy weapons. Their hulls were dark gray, absorbing sensor scans. They carried railguns that could fire metal slugs at a fraction of light speed, and missile batteries loaded with nuclear warheads that the Council had banned centuries ago. The engines flared blue-white, and the ships began to move. Not with the gentle acceleration of Council vessels, but with power that spoke of human engineering pushed to its limits. These ships could cross a solar system in hours instead of days. Test successful, Admiral, the officer reported. All systems are functioning above expected parameters. Reeves allowed himself a small smile. Add them to Battle Group 7. How many ships are operational now? 347 warships, sir. Another 200 in final assembly. If we maintain current production rates, we will have over 1,000 ships within 2 years. 1,000 ships. It seemed impossible. 5 years ago, Earth had possessed maybe 30 military vessels, most of them outdated and poorly armed. But the quarantine had done something the Council never anticipated. It had united humanity completely. Every nation on Earth had set aside its differences. The old boundaries meant nothing anymore. There was only humanity in the galaxy that had rejected them. Resources that once went to consumer goods now fed the war machine. Factories that made cars and computers now built weapons and armor. Scientists who researched medicine and entertainment now focused on engines and shields. The door to the observation deck opened, and Dr. Yuki Tanaka entered. She was a small woman with tired eyes and graying hair, but her mind was the sharpest Reeves had ever encountered. She carried a datapad that glowed with complex equations. Admiral, we have done it, she said without preamble. The quantum fold drive is operational. Reeves turned to face her fully. You are certain? We tested it an hour ago with an unmanned probe. The probe folded space, traveled 3 light years, and returned. Total time elapsed, 17 minutes. Reeves felt his breath catch. The Council's jump gates could move ships across the galaxy, but they were fixed points controlled entirely by the Council. The quantum fold drive would allow humanity to travel anywhere, anytime, without depending on infrastructure they did not control. Can it be weaponized? He asked. Tanaka nodded. Ships equipped with fold drives can appear anywhere within a range of approximately 20 light-years. No warning, no way for sensors to detect the fold forming. We could position a fleet anywhere in the galaxy before anyone knew we were coming. How soon can we install them on the fleet? The first 100 drives are already being manufactured. We can have them installed and tested within 6 months. Reeves walked to the window and looked out at the growing Armada. Doctor, when we began this project, I thought we were building a defense force. Something to protect Earth if the Council decided quarantine was not enough. But this, he gestured at the ships. This is something else. This is an invasion fleet. Tanaka stood beside him. The Council made us into this, Admiral. They thought they were protecting themselves from dangerous humans. Instead, they gave us 5 years of uninterrupted work. They gave us anger and motivation. They gave us a reason to push every limit, break every rule they tried to impose on us. What did they expect would happen? They expected us to beg for forgiveness, Reeves said quietly. They expected us to become compliant. They do not understand humans, Tanaka replied. We do not beg. We fight. A communication alert sounded. Reeves activated the screen and Director Chen's face appeared. She looked older now, with more gray in her hair and deeper lines around her eyes, but her gaze was still sharp. Admiral Doctor, I hope you have good news, she said. The fold drive works, Reeves reported. We will be ready to move beyond the barrier within 6 months. Chen closed her eyes briefly, and Reeves saw relief wash over her face. Good, the Council has forgotten about us. Their intelligence reports mention Earth only as a footnote, a solved problem. They have no idea what we have been building. What are our orders? Reeves asked. Chen's expression hardened. We begin with reconnaissance. Small ships, stealthed, will fold beyond the barrier and gather intelligence. We need to know everything about Council military positions, trade routes, and political divisions. We need to find their weaknesses. And then? Tanaka asked. And then we remind them that humanity exists, Chen said. We take back our colonies that accepted Council oversight. We show them that the cage they built was not strong enough, and we make them understand that when you corner a predator, you had better be prepared for what happens next. Reeves nodded slowly. There will be casualties. On both sides, yes, Chen acknowledged. War always has casualties. But the alternative is to remain here forever, isolated and forgotten. That is not acceptable. We are human. We explore, we expand. We refuse to be contained. The Council will learn this whether they want to or not. The communication ended. Reeves looked at Tanaka. Can you live with this? With what we are about to do? Tanaka looked at the ships outside the window. The Council condemned 4 billion people to isolation because they feared us. They separated families. They cut us off from colonies that needed Earth support. Some of those colonies probably died because of it. Can I live with fighting back? Yes, Admiral. I can live with that quite easily. Reeves turned to the officer who had been waiting silently. Pass the word to all construction facilities. Maximum production. Every resource, every worker, every hour is dedicated to building the Armada. We launch our first reconnaissance mission in 30 days. Yes, sir. The officer saluted and hurried away. Alone again, Reeves and Tanaka stood in the observation deck, watching humanity's response to rejection take shape in steel and fire. The Council had tried to end humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous. A unified, angry, and highly motivated species with nothing to lose and everything to prove. The barrier around Earth still glowed at the edge of the solar system. But soon humanity would reach through that barrier like a fist through paper, and the galaxy would never be the same. 20 years had passed since the quantum barrier rose around Earth. The Galactic Council had long since moved on to other concerns. Trade disputes between merchant guilds, territorial arguments over mineral-rich asteroid fields, and the endless bureaucracy of managing 1,000 different species kept them occupied. Earth was barely mentioned anymore, just a cautionary tale told to aggressive young species about the price of defying Council wisdom. In the Council chambers, the Architect Prime reviewed reports from the frontier. Several outposts had gone silent over the past months. Mining stations, research facilities, and small colonies had simply stopped communicating. Search parties found the locations intact but empty, as if everyone had simply vanished. Pirates, suggested the water being from its containment suit. The frontier has always attracted criminals. Perhaps, the Architect Prime replied, though something about the pattern troubled it. The missing outpost formed a rough line, moving inward from the galactic rim toward more populated areas. Pirates were random, opportunistic. This seemed planned. Before it could voice its concerns, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency communication channels lit up simultaneously, dozens of council members trying to speak at once. The Architect Prime called for order, its crystal voice cutting through the chaos. "Report," it commanded. A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing a recorded message. The image showed a human, a young woman in a gray military uniform. Behind her stood rows of soldiers, their faces hidden behind combat helmets, their weapons held ready. "This message is for the Galactic Council," the woman said in perfect galactic common language. "My name is Captain James Wu of the Terran vessel Defiant. 20 years ago, you imprisoned our world and told us we needed time to learn wisdom. We have learned. We have learned that the galaxy respects only strength. We have learned that your laws exist to protect your power, not to ensure justice. And we have learned that we do not need your permission to exist among the stars." The Architect Prime felt something it had not experienced in centuries. Fear, the human captain continued. "The facilities that have gone silent were not destroyed. Their populations have been safely evacuated and will be returned when you agree to negotiate. Consider this a demonstration. We can reach anywhere in council space. We can strike without warning. And if you try to retaliate, you will find that humanity is no longer the weak species you locked away." The message ended with a final line displayed in every council language. "We are coming home. Prepare yourselves." The chamber erupted in panic. Species that had not raised their voices in anger for generations shouted over each other. The insect being's wings buzzed frantically. The water being's container shook with agitation. "This is impossible," one council member declared. "The quantum barrier cannot be breached." "Clearly it can," the Architect Prime said coldly. "The question is, what do we do about it?" "We destroy them," the insect being shrieked. "We send our fleet to Sol system and we end this threat permanently." "With what?" another member asked. "Our military has not fought a real war in 8,000 years. We have peacekeepers and patrol vessels, not warships." The Architect Prime accessed the military database. What it saw confirmed its fears. The Council's military numbered in the thousands of ships, but they were designed for policing and intimidation, not actual combat. Most had not fired their weapons in decades except during training exercises. "Mobilize everything we have," the Architect Prime ordered. "Send reconnaissance drones to the Sol system. We need to know what we are facing." Over the following days, the Council assembled a response fleet. 200 ships, the largest military force gathered in living memory, were dispatched to the barrier around Earth. Their orders were to investigate, to intimidate, and if necessary, to destroy. The fleet never came back. Long-range sensors detected the battle from thousands of light years away. The recording showed the Council fleet approaching the barrier, weapons armed, ready to demonstrate galactic power. Then space itself seemed to tear open, and human ships poured through. They were ugly things, all angles and armor, bristling with weapons that no civilized species would use. Nuclear missiles, kinetic kill vehicles, railguns that fired metal at relativistic speeds. The battle lasted 6 hours. 15 human ships were destroyed, their crews dying in fire and vacuum. But all 200 Council vessels were eliminated. Some were blown apart by missiles. Others were torn in half by railgun fire. A few tried to flee, only to have human ships fold space and appear directly in their path. The final image before the last Council ship died showed a human vessel ramming it at full speed, both ships exploding in a ball of nuclear fire. The Council's military doctrine did not include ramming. The very idea was insane, but humans, it seemed, were insane. The recording spread across the galactic networks within hours. Species that had trusted in Council protection for millennia watched in horror as their military was destroyed. The myth of invincibility shattered like glass. In the Council chambers, the Architect Prime addressed the assembly. Its crystal body seemed duller now, less radiant. The humans have been preparing for 20 years. While we forgot about them, they were building, planning, training, and now they are coming. What do they want? Someone asked. A new message arrived in response. Director Chen's face appeared on the displays, older now, but still recognizable. What do we want? We want our colonies back. We want the right to travel freely in the galaxy. We want to be treated as equals, not as children who need your guidance. And we want every species under Council control to know that there is an alternative to your system. Behind Chen, the image shifted to show human ships arriving at the scattered human colonies that had accepted Council oversight 20 years ago. The ships were not attacking. They were delivering supplies, medicine, technology. The colonists, who had survived 2 decades of Council neglect, welcomed them with tears and celebration. Your Council abandoned these people, Chen said. You promised them protection if they accepted your authority. But when they needed help, where were you? We are taking back what is ours, and we are offering freedom to any species that wants to join us. You created this situation, now you will live with the consequences. The Architect Prime knew then that the Council faced an impossible choice. They could fight, throwing every resource they had into a war against an enemy they did not understand, an enemy that seemed to welcome death in battle. Or they could negotiate, accepting that the galaxy's power structure was about to change forever. Send a message to the humans, the Architect Prime said finally. Tell them we are willing to talk. You would negotiate with them? The insect being demanded. After what they have done? They have done nothing we did not force them to do, the Architect Prime replied. We locked them away and expected them to become docile. Instead, they became dangerous. That is our failure, not theirs. The message was sent. For 3 days there was no response. Council forces pulled back to defensive positions around core worlds. Trade routes were abandoned. The outer territories fell into chaos as species realized the Council could no longer protect them. Then, on the 4th day, Captain Wu's ship appeared over the Council station. It did not fire. It simply sat there, its weapons locked on the station, waiting. A single shuttle launched from the ship and docked with the station. Captain Wu stepped out, flanked by 4 soldiers in powered armor. He was a young man, barely 30, but his eyes held the weight of someone much older. The Council is ready to meet with you, the Architect Prime said. Wu smiled without humor. Good, we have much to discuss. Starting with the fact that the Council, as you know it, is over. We are not here to join your system. We are here to replace it. The Architect Prime said nothing. What could it say? The human was right. The old order was ending. Something new was being born in its place, forged in humanity's anger and determination. The galaxy would never be the same. 35 years after the quarantine, the galaxy was divided. The Galactic Council still existed, but its authority had crumbled. In its place, the Terran Dominion controlled 73 star systems, 200 worlds, and an armada that numbered in the thousands. The border between Council space and Dominion territory was marked by constant skirmishes, neither side willing to commit to full war but unable to achieve peace. Admiral Reeves, now in his 70s but still commanding the fleet, stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Humanity Unbound. The ship stretched 3 kilometers from bow to stern, bristling with weapons and protected by armor that could withstand sustained bombardment. It was the flagship of the Dominion fleet, and its presence at any battle meant victory. Admiral, we are receiving signals from the surface, his communications officer reported, the Kreth are requesting immediate assistance. Reeves pulled up the tactical display. The planet below, Kreth Prime, was under attack by Council forces. The Kreth were a warrior species, tall and powerful, with natural armor plating and forearms that made them formidable in combat. 600 years ago, the Council had conquered them and forced them into service as peacekeepers and enforcers. The Kreth had hated every moment of their servitude. 3 months ago, the Dominion had arrived and offered them a choice: continue serving the Council, or join humanity and fight for their freedom. The Kreth had not hesitated. They had turned on their Council overseers and declared independence. Now the Council wanted to make an example of them. Launch all fighters, Reeves ordered. Prepare the main batteries. Let us show the Council what happens when they threaten our allies. The Dominion fleet moved into action with practiced precision. Smaller destroyers and cruisers formed a defensive screen, while the capital ships positioned themselves for maximum firing arcs. Human pilots in their angular fighters streaked toward the Council vessels. their weapons already firing. The battle was brutal but short. The Council fleet, composed of elegant vessels designed more for show than combat, found themselves outmatched. Human railguns punched through their shields like paper. Kreth fighters, piloted by warriors who had spent centuries dreaming of this moment, tore into Council ships with savage efficiency. Within 2 hours, the Council fleet was retreating, leaving behind a dozen burning hulks. The Kreth on the planet below erupted in celebration. They had been freed, truly freed, for the first time in 6 centuries. As the last Council ship fled into hyperspace, Reeves allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This was what the Dominion had become, not just a human empire, but a coalition of species united by a common belief that strength and determination mattered more than ancient treaties and bureaucratic rules. Communication came through from Director Chen on Earth. She looked tired, the weight of decades of leadership showing on her face, but her eyes were still sharp. "Another victory, Admiral?" she asked. "The Kreth are secure," Reeves confirmed. "That makes 17 species that have joined us in the past year." "The Council is fracturing," Chen said. "Our intelligence reports show that half their member species are considering defection. They see the Dominion offering technology without restrictions, trade without exploitation, and protection without demands for submission. Everything the Council promised but never delivered." "We are not perfect," Reeves cautioned. "We have made mistakes. The occupation of the Varick system was handled poorly. We pushed too hard too fast. We learned from our mistakes," Chen replied. "That is what separates us from the Council. They became arrogant, certain they knew best for everyone. We remain humble enough to admit when we are wrong and adapt." The door to the bridge opened and a Kreth warrior entered, escorted by human marines. He stood over 7 feet tall, his forearms decorated with battle scars, his natural armor plates etched with symbols of honor. This was war leader Krath, commander of the Kreth military forces. "Admiral Reeves," Krath said in heavily accented but understandable human language. "My people wish to thank you. For 600 years we fought for the Council, believing we had no choice. You showed us there is always a choice. We will not forget this debt." Reeves stood and approached the Kreth. "There is no debt between allies. The Dominion does not want servants. We want partners. Your people are warriors. We need your strength. Together, we will build something better than what the Council created." Krath bowed his head in respect. "Then let us build it. The Kreth fleet is yours to command." As Krath left the bridge, Reeves returned to studying the tactical displays. The Dominion now included humans, Kreth, the gentle luminari whose worlds the Council had strip-mined for resources, the silicon-based silicates whom organic species had dismissed as inferior, and a dozen other species. Each brought unique capabilities. Each had reasons to hate the Council. Each had found in humanity something they had been looking for. A species that judged others by their actions, not their appearance or origin. "Admiral," the tactical officer called out, "long-range sensors are detecting a massive Council fleet forming near Arcturus. Estimates suggest over 3,000 vessels." Reeves felt his stomach tighten. Arcturus was the key to the Council's core territories, a fortress system with orbital defense platforms that had never been breached in 10,000 years of galactic history. If the Council was massing forces there, they were preparing for a decisive battle. "How many ships can we assemble?" he asked. 3,000, the tactical officer replied. "Maybe more if we pull ships from defensive positions." Reeves made his decision. "Send the orders. All available ships are to rendezvous at the Arcturus approach vector. We are going to break their fortress." The message went out across the Dominion. Human ships received their orders and began moving. Kreth warships, still celebrating their freedom, prepared for battle. Luminary carriers launched their fighters. Silicate vessels, with their unique ability to interface directly with ship systems, readied their electronic warfare capabilities. 3 weeks later, the Dominion Armada arrived at Arcturus. The system was a nightmare of defenses. Orbital platforms armed with weapons that could destroy capital ships, minefields that stretched for millions of kilometers, energy barriers that could disrupt shield systems. The Council had spent millennia making Arcturus impregnable. Reeves stood on the bridge of humanity unbound, looking at the defenses ahead. Around him, 3,000 ships waited for his command. Human vessels formed the core, but they were joined by their alien allies, each bringing their own tactics and capabilities to the fight. All ships. Reeves broadcast on the fleet-wide channel. The Council believes this system cannot be taken. They believe their defenses are unbreakable. They are wrong. We have faced impossible odds before. We were locked away and told to submit. Instead, we built this fleet. We found allies who believe, as we do, that freedom is worth fighting for. Today we show the galaxy that no fortress is unbreakable. Today we show them that the age of the Council is over. The fleet began its attack. Silicate ships went first, their electronic warfare systems disrupting the automated defenses. Luminary carriers released waves of fighters that swarmed the orbital platforms. Kreth warships, heavily armored and built for close combat, pushed forward into the teeth of the defenses. And the human ships did what they did best. They refused to stop. When shields failed, they kept firing. When armor was breached, they kept advancing. When ships were crippled, their crews evacuated to other vessels, and those ships rammed the defenses, turning themselves into massive kinetic weapons. The battle raged for 3 weeks. Space around Arcturus became a graveyard of shattered vessels, both Dominion and Council. But slowly, inevitably, the defenses fell. The orbital platforms were destroyed or captured. The minefields were cleared. The energy barriers flickered and died. On the 21st day of the battle, humanity unbound entered orbit around Arcturus Prime, the capital world of the system. Below, Council officials watched in horror as the unthinkable happened. Their fortress had fallen. Reeves broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. This is Admiral Marcus Reeves of the Terran Dominion. Arcturus has fallen. The Council's greatest fortress could not stop us. Let this be a lesson. The old order is ending. Join us in building something better or stand aside. But if you stand against us, know that we will not stop. We cannot be intimidated. We cannot be contained. We are humanity, and we bring with us all those who desire freedom. The galaxy is changing. Accept it or be left behind. The message spread across every network, every communication channel, every world in Council space. Species that had served the Council for millennia watched as the symbol of its power burned, and many of them began to question whether continuing to serve that Council was worth the cost. The Dominion had won more than a battle at Arcturus. They had won the battle for the galaxy's future. 47 years after the quarantine began, Director Sarah Chen stood in the same grand chamber where humanity had been judged and cast out. But everything was different now. The chamber was damaged from recent fighting, scorch marks on the walls where weapons fire had struck. Half the seats were empty, their former occupants having either fled or joined the Dominion. The Architect Prime still sat in its place, but its crystalline body was cracked and dull. Its light faded. Chen was old now, in her 80s, her hair completely white and her body supported by advanced medical technology, but her mind remained sharp and her purpose unwavering. She had lived to see this day, the day when humanity returned to face those who had imprisoned them. Director Chen, the Architect Prime said, its voice no longer commanding, but weary. You have returned? Did you think we would not? Chen asked, walking slowly to the center of the chamber where she had stood decades ago. You locked us away and told us to learn wisdom. We learned. Just not the lessons you intended. Around the chamber, the remaining council members watched silently. The water being was gone, its species having joined the Dominion years ago. The insect being remained, but its wings were torn and its body bore the marks of battle. These were the last holdouts, the species too proud or too fearful to accept the changing galaxy. We are prepared to offer terms, the Architect Prime said. Full restoration of humanity's rights. Seats on the High Council. Trade concessions. Reparations for the years of isolation. We can find peace. Chen shook her head slowly. You still do not understand. We do not want a place in your council. We do not want to join a system that is fundamentally broken. You offer us seats at a table we intend to dismantle. Then what do you want? The insect being demanded. You have conquered half the galaxy. How much more blood must be spilled? We want what we have always wanted, Chen replied. Freedom. Equality. A galaxy where species are judged by their character and capabilities, not by how long they have been part of some ancient club. We want a system where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them, where innovation is encouraged instead of regulated, where species can grow and expand without asking permission from beings who have forgotten what struggle means. Chaos, the Architect Prime said. That is what you describe. The Council brought order to the galaxy. 10,000 years of peace. 10,000 years of stagnation, Chen corrected. You stopped growing. You stopped changing. You became comfortable with your power and blind to your failures. How many species did you exploit for resources? How many did you keep dependent on your technology so they could never challenge you? How many, like the Kreth, did you conquer and enslave under the excuse of bringing them civilization? The Architect Prime said nothing. What could it say? The accusations were true. Chen continued, her voice growing stronger despite her age. 47 years ago, you told me that humanity was too dangerous to be part of the galactic community. You were right, but not in the way you thought. We are dangerous to you because we refuse to accept that things must remain as they have always been. We look at your 10,000 years of peace and see 10,000 years of wasted potential. She gestured toward the empty seats. Half your member species have joined us or declared neutrality. They saw what the Dominion offers and compared it to what you provide. We give technology freely. You hoard it. We protect our allies without demanding submission. You demand tribute. We judge species by their actions. You judge them by their age and power. Is it any wonder so many chose to leave? And what of those who wish to remain independent? The insect being asked. Will you force them to join your dominion? No, Chen said firmly. Any species that wishes to remain neutral can do so. We will not conquer those who do not threaten us. But you, the Council, cannot continue as you are. Your system is based on maintaining power through control. That must end. The Architect Prime leaned forward, its cracked crystal catching the light. You would destroy us completely? We would give you a choice, Chen replied. The same choice you gave us 47 years ago. Submit to change or be left behind. Dissolve the Council. Join the Galactic Union we are establishing. Accept that species must be equal, not ranked by age or power. Those who accept these terms can join us in building something better. Those who refuse can leave. Find some distant corner of the galaxy and build whatever society you wish, but you will no longer dictate terms to others. And if we refuse? If we fight? The insect being challenged. Chen pulled out a small data device and activated it. A holographic display appeared showing the galaxy. Red markers indicated Dominion fleets positioned around every remaining Council core world. Not attacking, just waiting, watching. While you debated what to do about us, we positioned our forces, Chen explained. We could destroy every Council world within hours if we chose to. But we do not want destruction. We want transformation. You can accept that voluntarily, or you can be forced to accept it. But the old Council, the old system, ends today. That is not negotiable. The chamber fell silent. The remaining Council members looked at each other, then at the Architect Prime. The ancient being seemed to shrink in its seat, the weight of millennia finally crushing its pride. How do we know your union will be better? It asked quietly. How do we know you will not become what we became, comfortable and corrupt? We do not, Chen admitted. But we will try. We will make mistakes. We will face challenges. The difference is that we will adapt. We will change. We will not cling to power for its own sake. And if we fail, if the union becomes what the Council was, then someone will rise to challenge us. That is how progress works. That is how the galaxy should work. The Architect Prime was silent for a long moment. Then it stood, its damaged crystalline body crackling. I have lived for 4,000 years. I have seen the Council at its height and now at its end. You are right, Director Chen. We forgot that power must be earned, not inherited. We forgot that systems must grow or they die. We chose death without realizing it. The ancient being looked around at the damaged chamber, the empty seats, the remnants of galactic order. I will dissolve the Council. Those species that wish to join your union may do so. Those that wish to leave may leave. As for me, I believe my time has passed. I will go into the dark and let younger beings build the future. Chen bowed her head respectfully. Thank you. Your wisdom in accepting this will save countless lives. Wisdom I should have shown 47 years ago, the Architect Prime replied. If I had listened to you then, perhaps we could have changed together. Instead, we forced you to change alone and you became stronger than we could imagine. Let that be my legacy. A lesson about the cost of arrogance. Over the following months, the Galactic Council formally dissolved. Of the remaining member species, most joined the new Galactic Union. The charter was written on Earth in the city of Geneva, with representatives from over 400 species attending. The document established principles that would have been unthinkable under the Council. Equality of all species, merit-based leadership, free trade, mutual defense. and the right of any species to leave the Union if it chose. Admiral Reeves, now in his 90s and confined to a wheelchair, sat beside Chen at the signing ceremony. As representative after representative added their species seal to the charter, he spoke quietly. "We did it," he said. "We took a galaxy that was frozen in place and we shattered it. We broke their system and built something new." "We started something," Chen corrected. "But the work is not finished. It never will be. That is the point. The Union must continue to grow, to change, to improve. The moment we think we have achieved perfection is the moment we become what the Council was." A young human officer approached with a message tablet. Chen read it and smiled. "Unknown signals detected beyond the galactic rim, potentially hostile. The exploration fleet is requesting permission to investigate." Reeves laughed, the sound rough but genuine. "Of course there is. The galaxy will always have challenges. That is what makes it worth living in." Chen stood slowly, her old body protesting but her spirit undimmed. She walked to the window overlooking Geneva. In the sky above, the Dominion fleet, now renamed the Union Defense Fleet, passed in formation. Human ships flew alongside Kreth warships, luminary carriers, silicate destroyers, and vessels from 100 other species. A fleet united not by force but by choice. The quantum barrier that had once imprisoned Earth still existed, frozen in its field state as a monument. Below it, a memorial had been built listing the names of every human who had died in the struggle to break free. Chen visited it whenever she was on Earth, reading the names and remembering what they had sacrificed. "What are you thinking?" Reeves asked, joining her at the window. "I am thinking about that day 47 years ago," Chen replied. "When the Council cast us out and I promised them they would regret it. They thought they were punishing us. They thought they were protecting themselves from dangerous humans. Instead, they gave us exactly what we needed: time to prepare, motivation to succeed, and the freedom to become something they could not control." "Do you think they truly regret it?" Reeves asked. Chen considered the question. "I think the Architect Prime does. It lived long enough to see its life's work crumble. But regret is not the point. What matters is that we survived. We adapted. We refused to accept the limitations others tried to place on us, and we built something better than what existed before." A new message arrived. The young officer returned, looking excited. "Director Admiral, the exploration fleet reports that the unknown signals appear to be from a previously unknown civilization. They are requesting diplomatic protocols." Chen and Reeves exchanged glances. After everything they had been through, after all the battles and struggles, the galaxy was still full of mysteries, still full of challenges, still full of opportunities. "Tell them to proceed with first contact protocols," Chen ordered, "and remind them to be respectful. We are not the Council. We do not assume we know better than everyone else." As the officer hurried away, Chen looked at Reeves one last time. "Ready for whatever comes next?" Reeves grinned, the expression making him look decades younger. "We are human. We were born ready." Above them, the Union fleet adjusted course, heading toward the unknown signals and whatever challenges they represented. Humanity had risen from quarantine to leadership in a single lifetime. They had broken an empire that had stood for 10,000 years and built something new in its place, and they were just getting started.